Okay, hi Aaron. Thanks for joining us at the Blues Hotel. I appreciate you taking some time out of your schedule.
Thanks,
Just wondering, mate. Can you give us an insight into how you become interested in the blues genre?
So when it came to music, I actually started with rap and hip hop because my era, I guess, at the start
Oh,
was
really? Well,
early
geez.
early 2000s, and so what happened there was, which ironically to me, blues music is actually quite similar to hip hop, and so I started there, and I remember one time actually listening to this song, and it had taken a big sample from Curtis Mayfield, and I thought, okay, where
Yep.
has this come from? And I actually ended up listening to the Curtis Mayfield record, and then I was like, okay, hang on a second, I love this. I need to figure out what's going on here. And I just kept going back. I started basically at Curtis Mayfield, and then ended up in the '60s, listening to Jimi Hendrix, especially. And then he was doing covers of Elmore James songs, and I was like,
Nice.
okay, I wonder who Elmore James is. And I just kept going all the way back, and especially I stopped at the 1930s with Robert Johnson, Blind Willie McTell, Blind Lemon Jefferson, and then I found my home there.
Nice. Yep. Sure. So would you say your influences are those the older generation?
Yeah, definitely. As a songwriter, I'm definitely most influenced by Bob Dylan. I'm a bit of a fanatic when it comes to Bob Dylan. Um, Joni Mitchell,
Mm.
Nick
Mm.
Drake, those sorts of folk guys. I love that sort of abstract writing. And in sound, uh, especially when I was younger, my biggest
Yep.
influences were Robert Johnson, um, Memphis Minnie, Sister Rosetta Tharpe, singers like that. That was the sound I really wanted to go for.
Right. Excellent. Yeah. No. That's the acoustic side coming out in you, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah, it's that one man band sort of thing. Like I was always so obsessed with
Yeah.
um, how they made it sound so full, so rhythmic, so it's so big, just with one guitar. And especially growing up, my dad plays guitar
Mm.
and used to play a lot of stuff by Tommy Emmanuel. And so I grew up with that sound in my head already,
Yes.
you know.
Sure. What motivated your decision to pursue a professional career in blues?
Um, I actually honestly didn't even know that I was getting involved in blues or anything per se. I know that I started playing guitar and playing music a lot later, in comparison to a lot of musicians. I think I was 15 when I picked up a guitar, and it was actually the same year that I have a single coming
Sure.
out in a few days. Um, and it was the same year where I wrote that song, 2011, I think it was. And so it all happened very quickly. I started playing ukulele, and then I picked up an acoustic because I wanted some more strings. Um, and then I started writing, and it all happened very, very fast. And I think by the time I was 16, 17, I was writing hundreds of songs, and it was all in the style of usually with Bob Dylan. And in my first performances, I think that's what I was sort of going for, is that acoustic folk singer thing. And I was just throwing in old blues tunes as well. And I had a hard time differentiating them from blues, folk and blues. I just thought it was all the same thing. And people were gravitating to
Yeah.
that more. They were finding it more exciting, and they were finding the finger picking really interesting. And I didn't even know really what I was doing. I was just singing the songs. And so over time, people just kept saying,
Improvisation.
yeah, exactly. People just liked the blues stuff more. And so I found my calling in playing the blues.
Yeah. Oh, fantastic. Uh, So your involvement in the Melbourne Blues Appreciation Society, they gave you the opportunity to participate in the International Blues Challenge in Memphis. How did that come about?
That's a fun story because I used to go busking in the streets of Melbourne, and that was before I was involved in
Yep.
anything blues. Actually, I just sort of was kicking off, and I used to busk for a living. I was out on Burke Street Mall maybe 5 days a week, and that was my work. And then I'd do some pubs and restaurants on the weekend. And I remember I had this sign, like a blackboard, and I had a drawing of an aeroplane on it, and at the bottom it said "Saving for the USA" because I wanted to go travel to the USA. And these two strange men
Oh,
approached
nice.
me
Yep.
on the street. And it was John Durr, the president of the NBAS, and John Collier. And
Oh,
they approached me. They approached me with their business card,
right.
and they're like, "Hey, we have a competition. You might even be able to get to the USA for free if you sign up." And so I did the NBAS Blues Challenge and happened to end up winning it, and then flew over to Memphis, and then got to the finals over there. So it all happened very fast.
Right. Wow. So now John Durr, he also runs uh, a blues record label as well, doesn't he?
Yeah, Black Market Records.
Black Market Records. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Sure. That's yeah. That was quite an interesting find. That I when I met John, I had no idea that he was he owned a record label. So that was it was good.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, a lot of work.
Now, yeah, you're currently touring around Queensland at the moment. What do you enjoy most about performing live?
Um, that's a very good question because I like performing live, especially because it brings out another side to myself that I don't usually use in person. So I'm quite a talkative person. I like talking. I like
Yep.
philosophizing, if that's a word. like I like sitting and having a beer and talking to people
Yes. Yep.
about life and music and history. And I am quite a social person, but I'm also very antisocial in the sense. And and so on stage it gives me a chance to really be as entertaining as I feel. And you get away with it because you're on stage, right? It's not like you're at a dinner party saying too much. It's like
Yeah.
you're on
Sure.
stage, you got a guitar, you can do what you want with that guitar. And I like to have a beer in one hand when I'm playing, and I like to talk to people. And the idea is that the room is in it as a collective. Um, and that's an amazing thing to do because, I always, when I said I wanted to start as a folk singer, in my mind, it was just like get on stage, sit on the stool, mumble a few words and play a song. And that wasn't working for me. And I was like, I'm like this. I don't
Yep.
think that's really working anymore. And I was like, I've got to figure something out. And then what I started doing was just talking, just like we're doing now. I just started talking on stage, telling people what I was up to, telling people how I felt about certain things, and they actually gravitated to that more. And so I love entertaining because to me, I don't really have to try. I just like getting on stage, playing the guitar and singing and just being open and honest. And it's a really good feeling.
You're a natural. Yeah. Okay. So now, what's your opinion on the current state of independent artists? How do you, how as as you're an independent artist, how do you survive in the current state?
Um, Music at the moment, especially for current artists, it is getting difficult. I mean, like, it's always been difficult. Um, it's always been difficult, actually. I think for
Mm,
musicians,
mm,
like the way musicians used to be is that you always saw them at their peak moments, right? You always saw them in big posters or photos or record covers, and it always looked like just glitz
mm.
and nothing but like the celebrity status. They were making lots of money and this and that, but I don't think it was ever easy. I think most artists back in the day were involved in shitty record contracts and weren't seeing any of their ticket sales or money, and so I think it's always been an ugly game, to be real. I think as independent artists, you've got a lot of good, real high pros and a lot of cons. So the definite pros are that we can record ourselves now. Um, you can invest in a home studio and record your own stuff, and you can
Sure.
release your own music without anybody being able to hinder that. I've released 8 albums now, and they've all been done with like 100% creative freedom. Um, no one else owns them. I own the albums. I made the records. I recorded them. Um, and and that's really important for people in our genre, for folk and blues music especially. I mean, we're playing organic music, and so it should stay that way in its distribution. Um, so that's a
Yeah,
big one.
definitely.
And
Mm,
releasing it, you can release it on your own, and you can put it anywhere. And
sure.
there's these amazing things at the moment, like in the sense that Eric Bibb. I really like Eric Bibb. I love his
Yep.
music, and he was at the festival the other day, and I thought I'm gonna take a punt on sending him a message. And it wasn't asking for anything. I just mentioned, "Hey Eric, love your performances. See you at Broad Beach." I learned some guitar songs off of like through his actual music years ago, and I love what he does. And he responded, and he said, "Hopefully I'll see you at the festival. Much love, Eric." I was like, "You can do that. How cool is that? You can literally
That's
just
awesome.
message these people on the internet, and they'll
Yeah. Yeah.
respond." So you've got these amazing ways of branching out your music anywhere you want, and creating connections that you wouldn't have otherwise. Um, Here come the cons.
Yeah.
here come here come the real cons. I think number one is that there is just far
Yeah,
too much
indeed.
music out there. And it might sound cynical, but there is a lot of music out there. So in order for your music to be, um, look, I should say, depending on what you want out of your music, if you want to be a superstar, I think good luck, because you're gonna have to do a lot. You're gonna have to make songs that are for TikTok. You're gonna have to market yourself all over social media and everything. TikTok, Instagram, YouTube.
Yep.
Your songs have to be short. You can't have a long intro like "Shine On You Crazy Diamond," because no one's gonna listen to it. Like it. You're If you want to be a star, if you want to break into that category, if you want to do the popular music side, I think it's just a complete different world. Um, and and it's changed. It's really changed. People's attention spans are far shorter. Um, People aren't necessarily really in the mood for listening to anything too intense. Like, don't write "Hurricane" by Bob Dylan, because people can't be bothered with that anymore. They want to just hear something that goes for 2 minutes.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Makes them dance a little bit, and they can click next way too easy on Spotify to give those sorts of things a chance. So I think that's the cons.
Oh,
There's
indeed.
just an abundance of everything, and I'm bad at that too. Like, when it comes to
Yeah.
YouTube videos or songs, like, I skip way too quickly, and it's a bad habit. But that's how people are,
Yep.
these days.
No. No, exactly. Yeah, no, I don't particularly take for the streaming services that much. I'm old school. I like the physical media.
Yeah. I I
Mm,
it's
mm.
Spotify is such a hard one because I love what it can do. Like I'm doing these big drives, and for some reason it knows exactly what I want to listen to, even if
Yep.
I've never heard it before. And I'm like, what the hell? I love this song. How have I not heard this before? But
Yes.
um, but if you saw my
Yes. Yep.
my
Yep.
takings, if you saw my royalties from Spotify,
Yeah.
you'd probably feel sorry. You'd
Yeah.
probably-
Look. Yeah. Yeah. So between what? How would you rate Spotify to Bandcamp?
Oh, Bandcamp takes quite a hefty chunk when it comes to sales too. I think it takes 25% or something like that.
Right. Okay.
They
Right.
take a
Right.
pretty heavy chunk, apart from their Bandcamp Friday service. But I always advise people just to buy records straight through the website, like their personal websites. Um, mine's
Yes.
aaronpollockmusic.com, and I sell my CDs through there, and at least the whole amount goes to me.
Indeed. Yeah. 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 All right. Now I see that you've got. Correct me if I'm wrong. You've got 7 albums released to date.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Um,
Excellent.
yeah, and two EPs, and yeah, there's been a lot of stuff actually.
Right. Is there one that really stands out to you?
Um, yeah, there is. So I love my second album, um, which was actually no, it's my third. Sorry, my third record, Separated Through Time. So that one, I recorded that in lockdown, in my home studio, and I recently, actually about three
Yep.
months ago, 2 months ago, released. I sort of remastered it because my production skills are getting better, I'd say, and so I cleaned it up a little bit and redistributed it.
It
Distributed it.
improved.
Yeah,
Yep.
definitely it sounds a lot more clear. You can hear my voice really well, and I put out another side album with it called Still Separated Through Time, which was the outtakes. I love that one. That one's more folk. I think that has like two blues songs and like 11 folkish songs, but I really like my writing on that. And I like the sound. There's like an essence to it that makes it. I don't know. It's definitely my favorite record that I've put out.
Fantastic. Okay. Now, you've got a new single on the horizon. I've got my eyes on you. This is a song that you wrote at an early stage in your career. Why has it taken so long to release a studio version?
That's a very good question. I have no idea. I I released it came out only once on like this thing called the Third Man tapes, which was like a recording in a record booth, where you had like this old 1940s record booth, and you put a vinyl in, you get 2 minutes to record, the red light comes on, and it spits the vinyl record straight out back at you. And so the only time I ever released it was on that, um, which just doesn't cut it.
Yep.
And it was, I've played that song at practically every show, um, over 1,000 gigs. It has to be. I've just played it and played it, and it's the one that people sing along to, and it's the
Yep.
song. I think everyone have a song where people go, "Hey, I've heard that before." And then you go, "No, that was my song," and they actually, because there's something about it it's like they've heard it a million times, but they haven't. And so that was my song of that. And I was like, I've got to release it, or else people are going to look for it online and try and figure out what that song is in their head, and they can't find it. So it's finally coming out.
Okay, so Aaron, what's next in the pipeworks?
So at the moment, I've got 4 different things I'm working on. I've got some main things. The first is getting this tour done, the East Coast tour. Is
Yep.
basically getting my car back home to Melbourne. That's going to be the main priority.
Yep.
And I've got another record that I'm working on. So I'll be going back to my hotel tonight to work on a new studio album, which should be coming out over the next 12 months. What ideally I want to do is release one song from the album every month as a single,
Mm-hmm.
and then release the whole album with some extra songs in its entirety afterwards, which might make it a better chance of getting some more traction and letting the songs get a bit more noticed,
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, that's important, I think, now. And working on an international tour, that one,
Yep.
like, it's requiring a lot of paperwork and visas and all that stuff. But that's definitely on the books. And for number 4, it would be getting over to your side for another tour.
Sure, excellent.
I'd like to get back
so
to
you have
WA.
been over to WA before, have you?
I have. I've been over once actually, and it was really interesting. It was Blues at Bridgetown Festival, and
Yes.
I flew into
Yep.
Perth and thought it was just going to be like one train or a bus ride away, and I realised I had to travel. And so I was lucky, actually. Somebody that was a fan
Yep.
asked how I was getting there, and she offered to drive me in. So she saved me. So she saved me a lot by taking me to Bridgetown.
Jeez, that's great.
Yeah,
That's great. Excellent. All right, Aaron. Look, that's about it. We'll wrap this up. I appreciate you taking time out of your schedule to have a chat at the Blues Hotel, and all the best for the future. And good luck with the next album that you release.
Thank you, mate. I appreciate you giving me the interview. Keep in touch.
Mate, I will indeed. Thanks very much, Aaron.
Thank you, Calvin. Take care, mate.
All right. Take
See
care.
ya.
Cheers.